Hi, our video today is about the herb thyme. Thymes are a very large family of herbs, and some of the most common varieties of thyme include French thyme, English thyme, German thyme, caraway thyme, and lemon thyme. They either grow in a very dense carpet, about 6 to 8 inches tall, like this one, and spread via little roots, dense root system, or they make about a 1.5 foot clump. And they are the ones that grow very short like this are well suited to the rock garden. There are rocks under here, but it looks really pretty along a rock garden. And in England, they plant it between paving stones so that when it's stepped upon, it releases a nice, wonderful scent. Now, thyme can be propagated or multiplied in several ways. Probably the two ways to get the most herb very fast are either by root separation, or dividing the roots, or by cuttings. And you can also grow them from seeds, but if you do grow them from seeds, it's going to take you about a year to get a substantial stand of thyme. So what I suggest is to either get a cutting from a friend that you can root, or buy your initial plant at a nursery. Okay, now I'm going to show you how to propagate or make more plants by root division. For root division, you want to first just pick your plant up a little and kind of look under it, because there's going to be, so you can determine exactly where the next root is. Okay, the next root on this one is right here. I don't know if you can see that. And so what you'd want to do is use your shovel and dig down right here about 6 to 8 inches deep and dig this piece up. And that's how you would do a root division. Now, my preferred method is to take cuttings and to root the cuttings. I take a pair of scissors and then I cut like 6-inch long pieces of thyme. Now this is just flowered not long ago, so it has some stringy kind of pieces on here where some flowers, where you can see a little bit of a flower right there that's remaining. So get a nice green, soft, new piece that hasn't just flowered. Let's see. Hard to find one that's about 6 inches tall that's like that right now. Okay, here's a pretty good one. Just take your cutting like that and then strip off the last few inches of leaves off the bottom, and then run your fingernail along the edge again. So all these places where you removed a leaf is a potential place where a root could emerge. Now put your piece of thyme in water in a clear glass or plastic container, and now you can set it either on a windowsill or you can even root it outside if the last frost is over. Just make sure if the water turns dark to refresh it with new water, and also just make sure the water doesn't evaporate. And in a few weeks, roots will emerge on the thyme, and then when the roots emerge, you can then transplant it into the garden. Here's some thyme that I rooted actually a couple of months ago. It needs to be replanted, and it's grown a couple of inches too. And so I grew these from cuttings, and there's lots of little cuttings there, or lots of little cuttings that are rooted. So what I want to do is separate just a few of them out. Be very gentle and pull them apart. You probably don't want to wait until they're this matted when planting your plants. So that's probably a good amount for the first plant. That's a few sprigs together. And now I can either plant this directly in the garden or in a pot. And like I said, it's really nice along the front of a border because it makes a nice carpet, or in a rock garden. Looks very beautiful. Okay, to plant your thyme after the transplant or your cuttings have rooted, you just dig a hole right in the garden. So you can either plant it in the garden or in a pot. And then just cover it up. Leave it about like that. And now water it after you've transplanted it. And it's always good to pour a little bit of the water that it was rooting in back on top of it, as that helps it get acclimated better. Alright, and that's how to plant thyme from your transplants, from your cutting. To harvest and use thyme, you can cut leaves any time of the year that you need it. Just all you have to do is just cut off what you need. And also, if you want to take a big harvest to dry a lot of it at once, you want to take that big harvest when the plant is blooming. And also, when you cut your thyme for harvesting or for using, it's ideal to cut it in the morning because that's when it has the highest percentage of essential oils present. So if you cut it then, you get the highest amount of essential oils in your herb, so it has more flavor and more taste. The best way to use thyme is fresh, but you can also dry it or freeze it or put it in little baggies in your refrigerator. This way you'll always have fresh thyme that you won't have to run back out to the garden and get more. And another thing I like to do too is to put my thyme in a little jar of water like this and just leave it in the windowsill until I need it. That way I have some nice washed thyme ready to use for fresh cooking anytime that I want it, and that'll save me another trip to the garden. And the way you can dry thyme is you can simply take the thyme like this, and you can bundle it up with like a twist tie or a rubber band, and then you can just hang it in your kitchen in a bundle to dry. And when it feels very dry to the touch, like there's no obvious moisture left, then you can get the remaining leaves off the stems. And I don't have some thyme that I have dried, but I have rosemary, and you do the same thing. You do it the same way. So once it's thoroughly dried, I just do it like this. I'm kind of just using my fingers to make the dry parts come off. You do this until all of the rosemary is off, or all of the thyme is off. See, now you have the dried herbs to put in your jars and to use at a later time for cooking. So, and you want to bottle these in glass jars that are either dark colored or clear, and put them in a cool, dry place to use for later. And here's how you use thyme for cooking when you use fresh thyme. And you really want to use it fresh whenever possible. You want to remove the leaves. It has these teeny weeny little bitty leaves on a little woody stalk. So you want to remove the leaves. I go the opposite way from the end of the stalk. Just remove the leaves, and you'll have to just pick off the last ones on the end and just get the leaves like this. So just remove the leaves from the little woody stalks as best you can. And then to release some of the flavor of thyme, you want to cut those little leaves up. Just cut them like this. You can also grind them for a second in your mortar and pestle if you want. So now that really releases the flavor of thyme. And thyme is a very, very strong smelling herb. So you want to use thyme early on in the cooking process, so it will balance out the taste of thyme and give it and let it not become so strong, but become aromatic and infuse your cooking the best. And as far as using thyme, it's been used in Greek and Mediterranean cuisine for centuries. And it goes very well with most meat, egg dishes, garlic and tomato dishes, stuffings, soups and marinades. And dried thyme is a great addition to pizza toppings. In fact, it's in all the pizza topping mixtures. And thyme has also traditionally been paired with parsley for poultry stuffing. For this last section, I wanted to include some footage of when the thyme was blooming a few weeks ago. Thyme blooms in mid-spring. When it's in bloom, it attracts honeybees. As you can see, this is just full of honeybees, and the flowers are just amazingly beautiful. It's just a carpet of flowers. And it's so nice to see so many honeybees, especially since their numbers have been declining. Also, the honey made from the pollen of thyme was considered to be the very best honey by the ancient Athenians. And another little tidbit of info about thyme: the main chemical in thyme, that it's his medicinal chemical, is called thymol, or thymol, Thymol. Thymol has antiseptic properties and has been used by the ancients forever for these properties, and still being used today in products such as Listerine antiseptic mouthwash.